Hello, homeschool families. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, but I am back, and today we are going to talk about that homeschool framework. So today I really want to talk about the homeschool framework and how this homeschool framework has really helped um, move our homeschool successfully forward. And I want to share that all with you. So, what is a homeschool framework? A homeschool framework is an individualized, holistic educational plan. It is a PDF form that I created, a graphic organizer, to help organize all of the information that I collect for each of my family members. So, it's like an inventory. So, I write down everyone's strengths, challenges, and needs. And I take that information and I create a homeschool plan for all. We've been homeschooling for about 2 straight years. Um, when we first started homeschooling, I just took the traditional approach, brought it home. It didn't work. So then, with me being a Montessori trained teacher, I tried that, but we had some focusing and attention issues that we hadn't discovered yet. So it didn't work. Um, so then it wasn't until I just sat down and I wrote this stuff out. I wrote my daughter's strengths, all of our strengths, our challenges, and then what I needed to be successful with this homeschool. And when I looked at all that information, I just started coming up with ideas. I discovered what type of homeschool method would best work for us. I discovered what I'm going to teach her at the moment. I discovered that she had some serious emotional and social issues, some trauma that was acquired from school because of the experiences that she had, and that needed to be dealt with before I can even start academics. So the homeschool framework really helped me hone in on an intentional plan for my daughter, for me to track and for us to master goals and master some of the issues that we had, to get professional help, to get professional support, into making this journey successful. And I would give all kudos to God Himself, because before we even filled the form out, we prayed about it, and then we completed the homeschool framework, and it has been very successful. So I want to share this with you all, the homeschool framework. What are the benefits of the homeschool framework? So there's a couple of several really good benefits that I want to share with you. The first one is that it will help you better to choose a homeschool method or philosophy. So oftentimes when we first start homeschooling, we just take that traditional approach, that same approach that we removed our children from. Then we don't know anything else, so we implement it into our homeschool. But that is the very thing that didn't work for our children. And you really don't know what will work until you do an inventory of your child. And that's what the homeschool framework does. So once I did an inventory, I was able to actually discover traditional didn't work, Montessori didn't work at the time, but it was necessary for me to deschool her. And so I would have never figured that out had I not done an inventory, the homeschool framework. Number two, it'll better help you determine what curriculum is best for your child. So when I first started homeschooling, I bought the most popular, beautiful curriculum, and it is, and we use it now, but at the time, my daughter had some skills that were underdeveloped. And they were foundational skills. And in order for us to use a spiral curriculum, we needed to have some mastery in some of the foundational skills so that we can practice those works when they showed up in the spiral. So I had to put that aside and I had to start building the foundation. So it wasn't until I did the homeschool framework that I realized that I needed to find a curriculum that focused on those foundational skills, just one at a time, before I can move on to the homeschool curriculum that we desired to use. So the homeschool framework helped us to identify that. Another number three, it's you can use it as a quarterly assessment tool, like a benchmark, or a progress monitoring tool. It's used as an assessment tool. So the goals that you write, and I will tell you where those will come from, but you write goals every quarter, and then you monitor the progress of those goals monthly. So by the end of the 3 months, you should be meeting the goals or working towards meeting those goals. That was the one way I was able to identify goals, track and make sure that the curriculum or the methods or the activities that we're doing for those goals are working. And so it was the homeschool framework where we set those goals that allowed me to see improvement. It allowed me to know how I was going to support my daughter. And so it's that homeschool framework that played a huge role in the assessment piece. So each month I would look at those goals and I would look at what we're doing and see if she's making progress. And if she is, we keep doing it. If not, then I make some changes. I see what changes that need to be made. It's better to do that monthly so you get 4 weeks in instead of waiting for 3 months to pass and then you realize what you've been doing for 3 months doesn't work. So that's why I use this framework to just revisit those goals, just to make sure, do some type of informal assessment or a formal observation or a formal assessment to make sure that your child is meeting those goals. It depends on what the goals are, will depend on the assessment. If you're doing math, you could probably do a formal assessment, a really quick quiz or something like that. And if it's something like social emotional, you can do observations. I'm going to talk more about assessments in some other videos, but this homeschool framework can be used as an assessment to make sure that what you're doing is working. Number four, provide you with data that you can share with others that are supporting you and your child. So in the past, my child has, we've outsourced providers that I trust had their own assessments, and that was working with my daughter. Some of them I would see some significant progress, and some I didn't see any at all. And so it wasn't until I did the homeschool framework that I had my own goals for her, and that I had what I'm looking for and what I'm doing at home. I would share that information with the providers then at that point, and you better believe I started seeing some significant growth in the area of that the providers were providing, because they saw that I had an assessment tool, that I was progress monitoring, and that I had definite goals by the end of the 3 months of what I would like to see. So it made an accountability for them. It made them accountable. And so when I come in there with my data and my information, it really encouraged them to make sure they're doing their part. And then the last one is, it could be an end of the year progress report. So that can be used to share with your district to let them know that you had an individualized plan, that you progress monitored, that you assessed quarterly, that you made adjustments, and that your child was making growth at their level with the things that they needed. And it will suffice. So that is, those are some of the benefits of that I have seen for the homeschool framework. So, how do we write a homeschool framework? So, some of the resources that I provided for you, there's a free PDF graphic organizer for writing out your homeschool framework. So, click in the description box below. Also, the old video that I did back in January, the homeschool framework, you can kind of revisit that one as well. And then I'm going to kind of walk you through here. So if you wanted to get that PDF, I can walk you through here. Now, another option that I have is that if you are interested in wanting a tutorial of how to complete a homeschool framework with additional support moving forward throughout the school year, please complete the Google form linked in the description box below to let me know that you're interested in that. And I can create a community where I can help you all write your goals using the homeschool framework, and then I can provide that support throughout the year to help you use it as an active document for your homeschool throughout the year. All right, so how do I write a homeschool framework? There are three major components that you're going to focus on if this is your first time. The first one are the strengths. If you're doing this at the beginning of the year, you want to write the strengths of everybody that is in your house. The reason why I say that is because, for example, you could have, let's say you have two children, one is in high school at a private school and doing great. You don't need to homeschool, but you have a young one that is just struggling in school and you decided you're going to homeschool that one. And so when you do a strength on all of the people, so your spouse, you, your oldest child, and your youngest child, you may discover that your oldest child has some really good qualities that can help support the learning of the younger child. So, for example, let's say that your oldest child is really strong in math. Well, that could be a part of the framework, can be that maybe once or twice a week you can pay your older one to play math games, do some reinforcement games, reinforcement activities for about 15 minutes twice a week to help your younger one in math while you're preparing dinner or something like that. But you're looking at the strengths of everybody in your community, your church, at home, your spouse, you, the grandparents, the babysitter, anybody that is going to be in that child's life. You want to write the strengths down because you could be using those resources if they're available. The next thing you're going to do is write the challenges of your child, you, the people in your home. What are some of the challenges? So, for example, in this example, your oldest might be in soccer, have piano lessons, and after school tutoring classes. So then you are the one who has to run back and forth, which will affect the homeschool. So, but if you write that information down, like this could be a challenge that I have to run my oldest here and there, and I do church group. And so you're identifying what days aren't available, the activities you have to do for your other children, obligations that you have to do. You want to write all of those challenges down so that you can think of all of this comprehensively when you're creating your homeschool plan. Now, under needs, this is going to be the things that you need. So if your child has a speech IEP, if they have OT, if they had an intervention specialist, if you are not good in math, or you are really struggling to teach your child foundational reading, you want to write those things down under need. I need help with reading. I need help with figuring out strategies for helping a child with ADHD symptoms that I do not want to medicate. I need help with that. So write all those things down under the need. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the strengths and you're going to categorize. So what I did was I looked under all the things that I wrote down and I placed them under categories. So what fit under academic, what fit under social, what fit under emotional, what fit under, biblical teaching. So fit them under those categories and do the same for challenging, do the same for needs. Okay. Now, what you're going to do, now that you have everything categorized, you're going to look at all of the categories and see what category fills up the most. So when I personally did that, the category that shocked me the most was the emotional piece. That one had more challenges under than anything else. And I realized with my research that when children are feeling stressed, if there's trauma of any sort, um, they cannot retain information. They can't learn. So academic is not priority. I knew emotional support was priority. So when I looked under um, some strengths, I thought there's a couple of my friends who did some research in social emotional, but specifically emotional. I also had a friend who was a school psych, so I reached out to her and I got some support on what I can do to help her. I also reached out to her pediatrician, let her know what happened, and I did get some support with supporting her with that. With that being said, I knew that for the first month, academics couldn't happen. Even though she loved learning, a traditional school setting and academics just couldn't take place. So I didn't know what philosophy, what method of homeschool would I use. So after researching, I learned about deschooling. And that was going to be the method that I was going to use. So we decided that our focus was going to be emotional. So I found a curriculum that I taught her on self regulating, identifying emotions and feelings, talking about them. So that was a focus point. We learned scripture. We learned scriptures, and I found some videos on Under the Good and the Beautiful that had scripture memorization. So we did that. We just enjoyed each other's company. We read lots of books. I bought tons of books and books from the library that focused on homeschooling so I can teach her that our school here at home was going to look so different than what school was at school. And so we just deschooled. We built our relationship. We just became very close as a family. We did a lot of activities, swimming, just spent a lot of time together. We just read tons and tons of books constantly. We did a lot of praying. We did a lot of get more involved with our church. So those are the things that we did, and those based on the goals that I met. Those were the interventions that we did um, for my child. And so once I did that under the strengths, so what you're going to do is just what I just said. You are going to build your homeschool framework based on the strengths and based on um, those strengths that everybody brings. So, I'm a reading specialist, so I love reading and I love capturing children with literature. And so that's what I brought to the table. My husband, my daughter loves computer programs, so we got one that was more playful, and she did that with my husband. So we did ABC Mouse and iExcel. So she would spend about 15 minutes with him. They sat down, and that's what they did while I was at work. And then when she was with me, we just kind of like spent a lot of time. We just did biblical memorization. That was fun. We did a lot of social emotional learning. That was a lot of fun. And that was our focus. That was our framework. Deschooling, building up our spirit, building up strengthening our emotional regulation. Um, Now, where did I pull that from? From the challenges. The challenges, when I looked under this emotional piece, those were my goals. My goal was to get rid of that traumatic fear that she had, that undescribable fear that she had. My goal was to build her mental capacity by teaching her how to memorize scripture through movement in a fun way. My goal was to teach herself emotional regulation, self regulation, and being able to identify the feelings of herself, being able to identify feelings of others. That was a goal based on what I saw under challenges. Um, Now, under needs, that's where I outsourced. I needed help with her IEP. I needed a provider to help provide that. I needed somebody to help me figure out how to do self regulating and where to go. So that's where I reached out to my school psychologist that supported me, her pediatrician supported me, and then there was an organization in our community that provided OT and speech, and I reached out to them, and she started um, a little bit of work with those friends as well when I told them, everything that had happened. So I would have to say that one semester, which is 2 quarters, so 6 months into this, um, she had mastered self regulation. She can identify her feelings, and she used her breathing strategies that I had taught her. The noise issue that she used to be afraid to go into parks to play with kids at the park, which prior she didn't. And so now we would take her to the park. She would go play freely. Noises didn't scare her anymore. So she lost about 95% of that fear of noises and things like that. Scared to be by herself. All of that went away. It's gone 100% now. But by the end of the semester, all of that went away. After 6 months, we had to change the method because our deschooling was successful, and we met our goals. We mastered our goals, and we to deschool her. So we started looking, we were in the summer and we started looking at what we were going to do for the summer. So guys, I hope that this was really, really helpful. Again, in the description box, I have a free PDF of the Homeschool Framework kind of like guidelines and graphic organizer for you to use. I will have my old video linked below, and I will also have a Google Sheet that if you would like, a Google form for you to fill out if you are interested in a specific tutorial, where I can answer specific questions and kind of show you exactly how to complete the homeschool framework and how to use it as a progress monitoring and a benchmark tool. So go ahead and fill that out and send that to me. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.